Hello humans, you can call me Nox, and today I wanted to address a question that a lot of people have asked me over the years, but that I've somehow never bothered to answer. How do I know where to get started with a new writing piece, and how do you stay motivated until its completion? To me, one of the biggest hallmarks of quote-unquote bad writing is a lack of confidence on the author's part to write what they feel versus what they think other people want to hear. Dispassionate, pandering, or even unconfident writing can be miserable both for the author and for any audience who detect it. And I know that it can be easy to sit down and be discouraged because potentially someone somewhere has already said what you want to say, but somebody's already said that. The new way that you word an old idea could be the difference in your next project, so acknowledge that fear when you have it, but at the same time, acknowledge your right to examine that concept through your personal lens. With that being said, undertaking a writing project can still be an uphill battle. That's exactly why you need to find a way for the project to motivate you. Tending this spark into a flame looks a little bit different for everyone, and it doesn't even always involve writing. Hopefully through this series I can provide a few different techniques that I use to make writing a little bit more tolerable, because nobody should feel psychologically opposed to expressing themselves. This is where I differ a little from the traditional thought of receiving a bubble map and using it to organize information that you already know. The processes are similar and they generate the same outcome. I would simply encourage you to think of writing as more than the shapes put up on the projector by Mrs. Allen if those shapes made you hate creating. If you're more comfortable attacking the subject from every angle and knowing everything about it before you get started, then use this as an excuse to become an expert and flex your skills. Whether through intense emotion or mild curiosity, the desire to share what you've written is one of the most powerful tools in your belt. But let's start with the basics. With any deadline on the horizon, it can be easy to panic, to procrastinate, or to curse the very existence of written language and the role that it plays in your life. For that reason, I very much cannot recommend enough that you know exactly what is expected from you and your piece from the moment that you receive your deadline. It sounds simple, but I know that my students and myself have both done it. Getting that assignment sheet and losing it somewhere else amongst other papers is easy. First things first, read it. A good document in either of those instances should tell you everything that you're going to need to know. So before you throw it out, know your word counter page length, citation style, prompt or theme, and your audience. Having this on your mind from the very onset of your project allows you to focus on your creative vision without reaching the end and realizing that you've got to wring out another 1,000 words or rewrite completely in a different tone. Personally, I keep whatever informational papers I receive close at hand. It's significantly easier for me to jot down ideas as I think of them than it is for me to process how those ideas are going to be related in the future. Now I know what you're saying. I'm telling you that I just jot down ideas. I recognize that that isn't so easy either. Say that you have 2 weeks to write 2,500 words about some kind of startup company and present it to 50 young adults. Maybe you don't care about startups. Maybe you don't care about young adults. You probably don't care about presenting. But you have a job to do. So what gives? Here, you're going to have to live your normal life, but a little bit more engaged. Now, what does that mean? This doesn't work as well on a short deadline, but I truly hope that you have more support than YouTube videos if you're working on more professional deadlines. Very rarely can anyone force themselves to write about a disengaging topic. To produce the best product possible, you have to be motivated to express yourself as perfectly as you can while simultaneously pressing through a difficult process. You will eventually have to focus any passions that you have around one specific thesis or theme, but would you rather commit to a slog that you know will make you unhappy? Instead, listen to your friends, your family, your peers. Listen to the things going on in the world around you that you were going to have to hear anyway, whether you wanted to or not. Do a little extra digging, do some fact-checking with reputable resources, and see where the rabbit hole takes you. Back to the startup example. You're not terribly sure what a startup is, but a quick search in Forbes tells you the startups are young companies founded to develop a unique product or service, bring it to market, and make it irresistible and irreplaceable. That sounds sort of like a product you heard about a while ago, some sort of metal bean designed to keep coffee at the perfect drinking temperature. A quick search, again, and you find coffee Julies. Now, coffee doesn't quite run your world, but it's definitely a more familiar entry point into a world that you don't know at all. And so on and so forth. Writing is always an iterative process, so you may end up tossing some or even many of these ideas, but you only need one. And once you find that one, you're going to make that the new subject of your interest. You're going to see where that rabbit hole takes you. Building these connections as you write develops a knowledge bank not only of information that you understand and enjoy, but that you can use to your advantage going forward. For this reason, I cannot highly enough recommend that you write everything down through this process, even silly notes. By no means at this point do your notes have to be in sentence structure. Let your creative process here be free-flowing. I've known a lot of students and peers throughout my life who believe themselves to be terrible at writing, but who could come up with the most beautiful verbal statements on the spot that I've ever heard. Write those down, guys. Bring your subject up to other people. Learning about other perspectives is a great way to learn about how you yourself feel about it. Writing never has to be just you staring at a blank piece of paper or a blank screen. It very much can be the same things that you normally do. What matters here is that you are mentally engaging the subject while you do them. We all have moments where we think of some brilliant idea and we think, oh, that's good, I'll remember that. But ultimately we end up forgetting that part and things just aren't quite the same without it. Even if not all of your initial ideas and connections make it into the final cut of your piece, you do want to set yourself up with as many resources as you can in the beginning. While you may have to fill in gaps down the line with additional research, the initial part of this process is as much writing as filling in word counts, except that this part is much harder. It is always much less mathematical and the most potentially emotional. Sharing your feelings with the world is hard, but it's well worth it. If the foundation of your writing is rotten, then you're not likely to end up with a well-received piece, even with grade A polish. At this point in your writing, you do not have to have a solid opinion on your whole topic. Good writers are willing to take their lack of knowledge or their bias, explore these fully, and present these findings to the rest of the world. Allow yourself to grow with your projects rather than feeling obligated to pick an opinion beforehand and dig your heels into the ground because that's what you picked first. Once you feel like you have enough information to get started, or perhaps you're just getting overwhelmed by the amount of information you've found, don't be afraid to let more long-form sentences or paragraphs take form just to explore your brain. Once you understand better how you stand on the subject, it'll be easier to understand how you connect those ideas in your brain, and then it will be much easier to put them in that order for your audience, to bring them on the same journey that you experienced to form your opinion in the first place. Of course, getting started isn't the only difficult part of the writing process. It can feel genuinely unforgiving at times, but remember that writing is here to serve you. Remember the resources that you have available, open engaging conversations with your friends, and just be confident in yourself. Don't be afraid to edit or remove parts from your work when the time comes. Be proud of the changes that you're making, because ultimately these changes are work. Work that you're putting in to curate your mental image into the perfect interactive experience for people that you may not know. As always, humans, thank you for watching. I feel better. I've been trying to make this for a long time, but a lot of things just kind of kept coming up, so it's off my chest now. Tell your rats you love them. Peace.